Happy birthday to the Village of Hoffman Estates. 65 wonderful years.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Pat Barch. I'm Hoffman Estates historian, and I also work with our museum with the display cases, and I put the toys out there, and I do odds and ends. I write the column in the Citizen, and so it is so much fun to do this. We're 65 years old. Can you believe that? 65 years old. Oh, well, I have to say that too, honestly. And I have this in writing, and I always, it's in a newspaper clipping that I have, and I'm not going to bring it out, but way back when we were building and we were annexing, and Schaumburg was, they had incorporated, and they were annexing, and they were doing all of this. Mayor Atcher over at Schaumburg said that Hoffman Estates are just going to be a slum. And he was quoted as saying that. It was actually in the newspaper, and I thought, oh, that's terrible. How could he say that? And look at where we are. I told Mayor McLeod about a week ago, because I met him at the ribbon cutting of the library's reopening of the second floor. And I told him I thought Hoffman Estates was close to being almost a perfect town. And I've lived here since 1965, and I do believe every one of you, if you are living in Hoffman Estates, live in almost the perfect town. We would never get to be perfect, of course, but we sure keep trying. And you know our slogan, and I thought I had it on one of the signs. I wanted to have it on one of the posters, but growing to greatness since 59, and that's exactly what we've done. Our motto is the perfect motto for this village. So let's hope for the next 65 years that we'll be able to
Hi, Pat.
keep on accomplishing everything that we want to. And whoever comes after us, they've got a lot to keep up. They've got a lot to take care of and keep it that perfect place. I received a letter from, I'll tell you here in a minute. And it's addressed to the Dear Hoffman Estates friends and residents. And this is from our previous mayor, Virginia Hayter. She's living in California, and she signed it, your former public servant, Virginia Hayter. And she served as mayor and as clerk. And I had it down here. I was going to look at the exact number of years. I think she was for 34 years. And yeah. Karen Mills is coming up on 32 years. So she's also someone who has been a servant of the village for a long time. And I'm going to sit down while I read this letter. I have issues, and I walk with that walker now. As much as I need to. So I'm going to sit down here, and I'll read this, and then when we're done with that, we'll begin with the photo album. You know, this is like going to Grandma's house, and she gets out that album, and you start looking at all the pictures, and she goes on and on and on. So I hope I don't do that. All right, this is what Virginia has written. This lady is now 91 years old, so keep that in mind when I read this. Parties are always happy times, so I know you are all smiling and enjoying the 65th anniversary of Hoffman Estates Incorporation. My family moved into our home on Carlton Road in the Highlands in May 1962. We were the only house finished as we had that date stipulated in our contract. Stephanie, my oldest child, attended Hillcrest School. She was in second grade, and we had nothing but mud that month. Amen, I remember. There are buried in the front yard a pair of her shoes, as we had to carry her to the street minus her shoes. Later, we laid sod. And I remember that. That's all we had. Everybody out here talked about having mud. The school board met in Hillcrest Gym, and I began attending their meetings. And that was the start of her career. Having been active in Chicago with Mr. Molis, a school board member who also supported the PTA, I trained for and taught all incoming parents at Emmett School on Madison Avenue just before you enter Oak Park, a course called Parenthood in a Free Nation. I wish the Carnegie Foundation and the PTA reviewed that course. It set the guidelines for both the right and responsibilities of all school families. The PTA at Hillcrest had workers, and since there was no library at that time, we cleaned our closets and asked everyone for books. That was the start of the audiovisual program in District 54. With serving on the village board, I was fortunate to be included in the community committees that saw District 15 work and achieve the Malcolm Baldridge Award of Excellence. How hard they all worked, from the superintendent to even the school engineers. But the self-discipline that those students learned was unbelievable. They signed contracts that included what they were committed to learn in a specific period of time. I've always believed in being truthful about my situation, so school is children. Can it be fun? Oh, yes. We had in District 54 a teacher, Ann Fox. She asked her students to hitch your wagon to a star. There is a school named in her honor. Great lady, superb teacher. Volunteering was very important then. Nothing got done unless we did it. One year I had brownies on Monday, Cub Scouts on Tuesday, and Girl Scout Juniors on Wednesday, all after school in our living room. Some years later, we removed the carpeting and found the glitter we used on our art projects had sifted to the carpet pad. There were 8 women that were responsible for getting the signatures on the petitions to establish a community college. The gentleman who shepherded us from Michigan named us Harper Harlots. What a hoot, a private hoot though. William Rainey Harper was the University of Chicago's outstanding leader and friend of the Rockefellers, who gave a substantial sum to establish University of Chicago. We had hoped they would help us, but it never came to be. And now a little bit, a sample of what the lady does now that she's in California. She's 91. Here in California, they have many towns that have a library they fund. In several towns, the senior and recreation departments operate the parks and senior centers also, but all of them have active volunteer organizations, usually called Friends of. And of course, we also have the Friends of the Library here, who are parents with the cities and have memorandums of understanding that govern them. Elected persons in California may not solicit money or anything. So many times citizens serve on a committee foundation and they raise the monies and turn it over to the city. For instance, Friends of Newport Beach Library operate a bookstore in the main library building. Years ago, the Friends established the first library using only donated books. They presented the library board who, when presented the check for $200,000 for the current year, and there's something missing because it doesn't go on, but they must have been very surprised. Do you get the gist of what she's saying? Volunteering. This is what she's done her whole life, and she continues it out there in California. During the years I've been in California, I have had the privilege of helping establish a 20-piece rotating sculpture park adjacent to Newport Beach City Hall, worked in the bookstore and learned how to price and void books, a science. Being trained and functioned as a naturalist to run a nature interactive museum and led nature hikes on the upper Black Bay of Newport Harbor, where we have 5 endangered bird species and an actuary full of interesting plants and animals like burrowing owls, bobcats, and osprey families. I am fortunate that I was adopted by 2 professors at the University of Irvine, Eli Simon in drama, and Julia Lupton, the Humanities Department chair. Eli's forte is clowns, but he has built an outdoor globe theater that is called the New Swan. They present 2 of Shakespeare's plays in July and August. I am very happy to join her grad students as we read Middle English, which is a combination of Old English and French. As I wanted to learn more about art, I joined 3 art museums: Laguna Beach, Newport Beach, and Bowers. I still go to Luna as it's closer. Viewport Beach moved to Costa Mesa and erected a $94 million building. Bowers is in Santa Ana, so I find it difficult to get there. Oh my goodness, how does she do any of this? Retirement can be very rewarding and busy. I hope you all get to do what you enjoy. At 91, I do less walking, so we find things I can do sitting down. This month, we have Art in the Park, a Saturday where 120 artists and artisans sell their products. I shall assist there. In October, we have 2-day recycling sale at Oasis Senior Center. I shall sell something and mind a cash bank. My one piece of advice: keep moving, keep smiling. Your former public servant, Virginia Hayter. And she has a P.S. I shall always remember the fragrance of the prairie, standing on the hill overlooking the stage and lake at the village green, which was named in her honor. Are the swans still there? Are they, Mayor Joni? Are the swans still there now? Prairie Stone was aptly named. Sears did see that the prairie was established. It took 5 years to do. Cherish it as the Native Americans, or as they now say, indigenous people did for thousands of years. Thank you. Thank you, Virginia. I hope you can feel our greetings from all the way here in Hoffman Estates. So I'm very pleased that she did that. And I'm going to begin with some of my, I've got, Rodney, you can't have those.
Taking my candy.
I have a box of turtles here. And I have some questions that I'm going to ask you. So now if you answer a question right, and see, it took me too long to get to my pictures. I'm going to give you a turtle, but I'm not going to ask them all at one time. I'm going to start with our pictures. I love this picture. This is one of my favorites. And if you see, she's got a baby in her arms, and there she's sitting on the foundation of her home. New homeowners happily check out the progress of their new home that is under construction. The beginning of the plumbing can be seen coming up from the newly poured foundation. Lumber sits off to the side, ready to begin the next phase of construction. Look at that corn. Look at that corn. This is a picture of the Bergman family. The Bergman family checks the corn crop on their farm at Ela and Algonquin Roads. Hoffman Estates sprang up from farms like these. Originally a dairy farm, it continued to produce hay crops for Arlington Park Racetrack until the late 2000s. And Harold was a wonderful man. He became my adopted grandfather, and he was the same age as my father would have been. He lived to be a little more than 100, and that's his mom, and that's Harold, and I believe that's his, now I don't recall. Oh, that was his grandma. His mother is holding up her hands. And that's how tall the corn was. And when people first moved out here, that's all we had. If you remember, it was corn crops all the way around. Black Hawk School. Now, this was a school, it's been torn down for many years. It's long gone. It was one of the first schools built in Hoffman Estates. It was unique in design but not practical due to the extensive use of glass windows on all sides of the building. It was built in 1958 and closed in 1991 when it became the offices of Schaumburg Township. And the students and the parents and the teachers said they would freeze in that school. It has a very unique design. At one time I was told that it had won an award, but I've never been able to find evidence to that. And here you see, this is Schaumburg Township. They moved from the Buttery on Roselle to the Blackhawk School on Illinois and Schaumburg Roads in Hoffman Estates in 1991 until 1997, when the school was torn down to make way for the new township building on the school property. So that was the end of it. Anybody recognize this building? Yes. All right. I'm going to ask at this point, who has been living in the Village of Hoffman Estates the longest amongst you? Raise your hand if you think you've been here for all those years. Yes?
69, 1960.
You moved in 69?
Somebody in 61.
I moved in 59, but I left in 75.
Oh, you went away for a while.
Not a while, permanently.
And Fred?
This building,
1957. Are we older than 57? People living here all that time? Okay. Who 56?
66.
A 1956 person?
Yeah.
You're beat.
is this building behind the buggy whip?
Can you take one of these turtles to that lady? Anybody grab that, and maybe we should grab a napkin too. They're over on the table. The napkins. There's the napkins, and she's over there. Raise your hand, because you're gonna get a turtle. It was a long time ago. So this was the village hall. This was the village hall. We all know that, those that lived here, back in the early 60s. It was the village hall. Oh, yes, I haven't gotten to that yet. That's not the most important thing. No, you're right, sir. It was the Hammerstein farm. But first, it belonged to the Gieske family. The Gieske family moved out here after the Indians moved away. And Mrs. Gieske used to say that the Indians would always stop by her porch and ask for a nice cold drink of water, because there were still Indians in the area. They bought their property in the late 40s, 1840s, and so it is one of the oldest pieces of property in the village. There is a piece of wood that still has the bark on it that's in the ceiling of this. And so now it's the Children's Advocacy Center. So the Gieske Hammerstein farm was land that F&S Construction purchased in 1955. They purchased the whole farm for the construction of the first homes of Hoffman Estates. The farmhouse was used for their sale office, and the property became the Hoffman Estates Homeowners Association until our incorporation in 1959, when the 100-year-old farmhouse became our first village hall. And we used to have Boy Scout meetings in there. I feel that it's haunted. Now, don't pass that on. We don't want anybody to think that that's haunted. But when I was going there and we had to have our meetings up on the second floor, we would go there and we would find one of the gas burners was turned on. When we would be in the meeting room, we would wind up, they had a bathroom adjacent to this meeting room, and whenever we wanted to use the bathroom, we always had a problem with the door. Turn the doorknob, open it, okay, fine, no problems. Next meeting, turn the doorknob, shake the door, and it wasn't stuck. I mean, it wasn't stuck. It wouldn't open. And of course, then there was the time when one of our leaders went in the bathroom and couldn't get out. And so we almost called the fire department, but then all of a sudden, turned it and opened it. Nothing was stuck. You didn't have to pull on it. Nothing like that. So I thought it was ghost. This is a hackberry tree. That tree, I believe, has been cut down. That was our first village tree. And now I'm going to ask another question. Do you know what our village tree is? Mayor, you can't answer this. Do you know? Mayor McLeod doesn't know the tree. Who knows the village tree? Which one is it? Nobody knows.
How about a hemlock?
No?
No.
It's the silver maple. Oh, somebody was close to it, right? All right, so there were no answers to that. Do you know what?
She said silver maple.
Silver maple. Did she say it? Oh, well then you get one of the turtles.
Get a candy.
You get a turtle. Thank you. This is going to be our turtle man. This is Tom. All right, now let's try to get rid of another turtle. What's the village flower? You don't. You.
Virginia Hayter told me.
Who said Daisy? Oh, Ray, you don't count either. These are people that have served as our mayors and mayors' wives and trustees and we.
I was told that before I was ever his wife.
All right, so
She
now
told me.
Ray Kincaid gave it away. Boy, oh boy, Ray, you don't get a turtle.
Shasta daisy. It's the Shasta daisy.
It's the
Shasta daisy.
Uh-huh.
I think you're right.
I think she gets half of it.
Yes, it is. It is the Shasta daisy, which is a different daisy. It is a daisy, according to the person that chose this flower, there was a competition when the village started up to have a motto, which is growing to greatness, and a flower and a tree, and they chose the Shasta daisy because it was growing wild all over the place.
School kids.
It was out in the fields.
It's school kids going on.
Yeah.
I actually looked into this because I wasn't sure about it. They had the results of the vote yesterday.
They pop up out of nowhere.
Yes, they do.
And you'll never, once you plant Shasta daisies, you'll never get rid of them.
Yeah.
So so that's the village flower. Okay. All right, let's go on with our pictures here. Oh, this is another favorite picture of mine. Look at that. A row of mailboxes along Higgins Road in 1956 gives a rural feel to Parcel B that was being built on the south side of the highway. Mail had to be delivered to the boxes since roads leading to the new homes were still unpaved and at times impassable. And you hear the stories of how the people couldn't even drive out to the mailbox because the roads were so bad. They hadn't been paved yet. F&S had built the houses, but they couldn't lay down the roads because of the weather. They had to wait till spring until everything settled in place. But people talk about the terrible, terrible conditions of those roads. There's no wiki on Arizona. Look at that. Look at that old Chevy. That is a Chevy, isn't it? Somebody getting their mail. Oh, wow. Raise your hand if you remember this. Yeah. In March of 1964, a DC-3 passenger plane was returning a skiing club to O'Hare Airport when it was confused by street lighting and thought they were closer to O'Hare than they were. The plane crashed into this home at 112 Arlington Street in Hoffman Estates. Only the co-pilot was killed. The other passengers survived. Yes, this was terrible when this happened. Thank God no one was in the house at the time. And then the story from Mr. Rogner, Mr. Ken Rogner, he was the owner of the Shell station on the corner of Higgins and Roselle Road. It was on the northeast corner. And he was a very small man, slight build. He was thin and wasn't a very big guy. So and he was also one of the volunteers who helped with the fire department. And so he was called to the scene, and he was the person who was able to climb into that plane and shut off the engines. They were very concerned about an explosion or fire. And so Ken Rogner was the one that was able to get up there and, of course, then, realized that the co-pilot was dead. So he had talked about that many times. And so, yes. Well, look at all those people. This is the F&S Construction Company staff. Left to right, and also our mayor was in there. Lowell Schiff, Len Birnbaum, Will Griffins Sr., Rue Goddard, Bob Rossner, Mayor Jenkins, Jack Hoffman, Bob Haig, and Mort Silfen. They were celebrating their 10th anniversary as builders of Hoffman Estates. And there they have their cake. And I know that one of the hardest things I had to do was to try to find the names of all those men when I got a hold of the picture. And I thought, all right, now nobody wrote on the back. And so eventually I did learn who they were. We did surprise Jack Hoffman with a celebration of his work with the building of Hoffman Estates. We had a special luncheon over at Fairview School, and we got together with all of the people that had worked with him, and he was so shocked and surprised. He hadn't seen all these people in many years, and so I was very happy that I was able to do that. And it was just a short time later that he passed away. So I always thought he was a very kind man. I could see why the farmers sold him their land. I mean, he was had a wonderful personality.
He said he brought a bottle of brandy too every time he went there.
Oh.
I remember that. When we were at that thing, he said
Yes.
he always brought a bottle of brandy when he was going to negotiate with the farmers.
Had his schnapps.
Yes.
One of the assets that Jack Hoffman had was that he was able to speak some German. He was in the Navy, and he because his father could speak German, he could speak some German, and so that really helped him. The farmers were very impressed with that, and of course probably very impressed with the schnapps too. And one time the farmer said to him, and this was the story he told me. I got to meet him in person once. He sat across from my desk over at the Schaumburg Township Library, and we talked. And he told me the story of when this farmer said, well, I'll sell you my land, but he says, you're going to have to take my horse. And immediately Jack says, oh, of course, we'll take the horse. No worries, don't worry about the horse. We'll take good care of him. And I said, so Jack, what happened to the horse? I don't know, I have no idea. So we never know what happened to the horse. This is a picture of a terrible fire that broke out on December 3rd, 1958 at the Hammerstein Farm, home to the Hoffman Estates Homeowners Association, and it destroyed the barns except for the Hoffman Estates Volunteer Fire Department's barn that the firefighters sought to save. That's the only one that they were able to save. And it was awful. It burned half the day and during the night, and fire departments were called from all the surrounding communities to put this out. And this was, this was, all of their equipment was in that barn. All of the fire equipment that our volunteer firemen had was in that barn.
One fire engine we had.
Oh, yes, they only had one. And the barn, this barn wound up being saved, and later on, in later years, after their own fire station was built right there on Flagstaff, it's in the process of being torn down, and they're building a brand new fire station, because that's the oldest one. It was built in 1960. So that barn was there for many years later. Do you know what it became?
It was a boys' club.
Boys Club.
Yes, these gentlemen knew. The Boys Club. It became the Boys Club. So that barn was there and served a lot of purposes, and eventually then, it did go away. I think it was eventually torn down. But it, yeah, so that was quite a episode. And there's the first fire department with the equipment, and that is Station 21. Yes, and there they all are with their, just so proud of all of their equipment. And the ambulance. All right, good to get my little things ready. Does anybody know how they got their ambulance?
S&H green stamps.
I'm going to disqualify Fred. Yes, the gentleman in the back.
They held steak fry dances.
Say that again?
Steak fries and dances at the fire station. Steak fries. Steak fries. The dinner dance.
Oh, yes, they did. Oh, yeah, the best steaks in the world. Oh, it was wonderful. They did have the fire station steak dance to raise money, and but that ambulance, and I'm disqualifying Fred because I think he was born out here. Who knows? Do you remember your mother when she'd go to the grocery store and she, maybe the next day, she had these stamps, S&H green stamps, sometimes you'd have to lick them and put them into books. They got together a donation of S&H green stamps and were able to purchase their ambulance. So there you go. I mean, this is, Hoffman Estates hasn't changed since then. When we need to do something, get something done, we do it.
Pat, the piece of equipment second from the left, I believe is a rescue squad. And that rescue squad was donated by a bread company.
It was, the rescue squad was donated by who?
By a bread company to the volunteer
Oh.
fire department. So I remember as a kid going there, my dad watching them build the shells in the rescue squad.
Do we have our microphone? Ray is in charge of the microphone. Let's give it to Fred. So this was a bread truck at one time?
Yes.
Oh my goodness, another story that I didn't know. Yes, proud firemen. And I don't know, Mayor, do you have any idea how many firemen we have now?
No, we're in the 90s.
90?
Over 90.
Wow, yeah.
We got women too. Yeah, 4 women.
They wouldn't be able to all get in one picture now. You'd have to stand them up on risers at the high school in the gym. No, and that fire station is still there. And they will be, they did break ground for the new station, I believe. And so, no, not yet, okay. But it's going to be right next door in Chino Park. This doesn't look too familiar to you, does it? As the Cook County Forest Preserve District purchased farm property, and they got all that property up north of the tollway when development fell through, It bulldozed the buildings and barns to make way for open lands. This picture was taken on the Bergman Highland Dairy Farm at Ela and Algonquin Roads in 1971. And that was when all of that was bulldozed. And then I was told, someone said to me, that's not allowed. Those should be torn down and all of that should be taken away. But, I'm not going to snitch on the Forest Preserve.
A long time ago.
Pardon?
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was, and there's yes. So, if anybody really wanted to do some of their, what they do with their little, to find metal and things like that, it would probably be very interesting to go through some of the Forest Preserve area. Yeah, you never know what you would find. So, all right. Another one of my favorite pictures. This is the view of the Hammerstein farm in 1958, as seen from the window of a home in Parcel C, west of Roselle Road and south of Bodie Road. Homes had been built around the farm that was home to the Hoffman Estates Homeowners Association. And then right now, I'll just pause for a minute because, now you kind of get an idea. You can see those barns. The Hammerstein family, Arthur Hammerstein was the uncle to Oscar. Oscar was the nephew. And he did write a song. He did. Arthur wrote a song when he was here. Was it on this farm? I don't know. But it became a very popular song, and it's Because of You. Can we all sing together? Do you remember that song?
Let's not pretend we did.
Because of you. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-dum. Because of you. You see, no, we can't sing. Sorry, I apologize for that. But he did write that song, and I'm thinking he loved the quiet out here. Dorothy Dalton was his wife. Dorothy Dalton, she was the one who really loved the farm. She loved her animals, her horses. She would go out and ride the property every day. She raised the Black Angus cattle, and she also raised Duroc pigs. Harold Bergman's farm also raised Duroc pigs. I guess that was the pig of the day or that particular time. But she loved that farm, and it was sad when she, had to leave. And she would take part in meetings, and this was before the village became a village. She would go to the township meetings and talk about, whatever things were being discussed. So she was active in the community. And then when Arthur died, she didn't stay on. She was very well known for her silent movies. She was in more than a dozen of them. So we had some very famous people who lived here. Of course, you all live here now. So we're all famous. We're Hoffman Estate citizens. All right, now here's another question. Yes. Give that gentleman the microphone, Ray.
So you said that's Parcel C is where I grew up, and I'm trying to envision where the farm was.
Parcel C, it was very close to Bodie Road.
Right, so I lived,
And
In Kingman.
I lived on the corner of Mojave and Flagstaff, which was that parcel.
Where do you live?
Mojave and Flagstaff on the corner.
Oh, Mojave, Flagstaff.
Just-
The
just,
farm, of course,
just-
is now the Children's Advocacy Center.
Okay, gotcha.
That's it. That's her house. That's the house that she lived in.
Illinois and Geronimo.
Yeah, you live on Geronimo, okay.
Illinois and Geronimo.
All right. Another good question here, let's see. We've got
Real
this.
quickly.
What time do we have? Oh, yeah, all right. All right, do you remember this? Heinz Lumber Company? I had to ask the mayor for help with this. I couldn't remember where it was. The Heinz Lumber Company is no longer in the village. It was located on the north side of Gulf Road in the area east of Gannon Drive and west of the Gulf and Higgins intersections, sometime in the 1970s and 80s. And I think that is Strawberry, the Strawberry,
Across the
By
street.
the White Castle.
yeah, it was just east of White Castle.
This is where Mercedes-Benz is. That's where they were at. The Mercedes-Benz dealer. The Mercedes-Benz dealer.
Oh, okay.
It's across the
Yes,
street from
yes,
Strawberry.
right. Yeah, see, now we can identify where places are by what's there now. And, okay, Heinz Lumber Company. I remember my husband used to go there, but I just couldn't recall where it was. But the mayor helped. I called and he said, oh, yes, I know where that is.
It wasn't there very long. It became a Daewoo dealership.
I had to give the microphone to the mayor. You want the mic, Mayor? I'm having a hard time hearing you. See, that's my ears are not that good anymore.
Heinz wasn't located there that long. The site later became a Daewoo car dealership. Anybody remembers Daewoo?
Yeah,
Then it was empty again, and then Mercedes got it. And they've been a very good source
Oh,
of revenue
okay.
for the village, so we're very
Yeah.
happy with them.
that's our land there.
Yeah. In fact, Edward Hines III died maybe, what, a year or two ago, was it, Joni? I got a picture with him and Hayter and Gloyd and,
We have a picture
yeah,
of that, of the
Uh-huh.
signing things.
yeah.
Have to get it to
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yes, yes, and again, thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
You can keep it or pass it back to whoever. Ray was gonna be the microphone man. There are fun games that I like to play, and it's what was here back when, and what's there now? Do you remember where W.T. Grant's was? Okay, and of course, T.J. Maxx is where Grant's used to be, and that whole shopping center, of course, is all redone, and there's nobody there that's original. There used to be a National on the north end of Gulf Rose, and it's Gulf Center now. Yes,
Now, the question I have is, I heard that when Schaumburg Incorporated, that they annexed like about 500 feet on either side of the center line of Gulf Road. And that's why as soon as you turn off, you're into Hoffman Estates. Now, how far west does that go? Because wouldn't the Heinz Lumber be within that 500-foot range that
yeah,
they'd be considered Schaumburg
that's one of
instead?
those little pieces of land, and what helps is the power lines. Because Schaumburg buries their power lines, and we still have power lines that are above the ground, and that piece of land, Land Rover, half of it's in Schaumburg and the other half is in Hoffman Estates. And so I've always wanted to stop in and see how do they pay the taxes. I mean, do they drive a vehicle over into the Schaumburg land, or do they drive it over into Hoffman Peace? I mean, is the sales office in Hoffman? I don't know.
So
I don't know.
So where about, as you're going west on Gulf Road, whereabouts does that end where it's no longer Schaumburg? Is that at
If you're
Gannon?
going west
or-
on Gulf Road,
Oh, yeah, west on Gulf Road, would that be at Gannon or just before it where the White Castle and the
yeah, that's our
Strawberry
land
Hill?
there, where White Castle
Learned
is,
so much.
and the whatever, and that other dealership, what is it? Is it not Infinity? But that little piece, the post office is on that.
Yeah, the Acura dealer, I think, is who you're thinking of.
So that's, that all belongs to us. That's Hoffman Estates land. And it was that way because when we annexed land, Hoffman Estates and Schaumburg were like, it's like we were, like the two villages were playing checkers. Honestly, it is almost like a checker game.
Thank you.
Because, yes, thank you. One side of the road is Hoffman Estates, the other side is Schaumburg. You go down 2 blocks and that's Hoffman Estates again, but then, maybe another couple blocks and that's Schaumburg. And I always wondered how the police knew where to go when there was an accident in town, in our old original part of town. And they said they always met at the donut shop and they'd talk about it. So, and they'd know. Yes,
I just looked it up, Harmon Road is cut off. Anything west of Harmon is, so like,
I can't hear you.
anything west of Harmon Road is Schaumburg.
Right.
Because
Okay,
that
yeah,
goes
Harmon.
with Wendy's
I
and
see.
DeRue
Yes,
and all
yes.
CVS, that's Schaumburg.
When you're,
North is Hoffman.
when you're going down the streets too, when you see the sign, it is HE. You know that you're in Hoffman Estates when the street sign has a little HE. Schaumburg does not have that, so that'll help you a little bit. But I mean, when Schaumburg incorporated, they annexed Schaumburg Road and Higgins Road. They didn't annex Roselle, but they did those two roads. So when you come through, you've got one side of the street and the other side of the street is Schaumburg. I live in Hoffman Estates, but I'm surrounded by Schaumburg. I live in the Highlands. And so we've got, that the church that's over there in Knightsbridge, I don't know how many years they were using water, and they thought they were using Schaumburg water, but it was Hoffman Estates water, and I don't know if we gave them a big bill or what, but they didn't realize that, that was Schaumburg, and it is very confusing. It really is. Get a map, get a good map. Sometimes the library has maps, and here at the village, you might ask if they have a map of the area. The township has the township map, and so now you clearly see, based on the coloring, where Schaumburg is and where Hoffman Estates is. I just know I live in Hoffman Estates. When I go too far away, I use these little clues. This is the first home to be built in Hoffman Estates in 1955. It's in parcel A and occupied in that same year. Notice that the home didn't have a garage, but only a carport. It is located on Basswood in parcel A that is located between Gulf and Higgins Road and east of Roselle Road. And, are there some newcomers to the village? Who's relatively new to Hoffman Estates? Could you raise your hand? Okay, someone who's relatively, okay. The village is still known by the original names that were given by the builders. Parcel A is still Parcel A. That's the section that I just described. It's between Gulf Road and Higgins, and it's behind the Jewel. It's east. That's all Parcel A, okay? And that goes up to, that'll take you up to Meacham. Not quite, we don't go quite that far. And then crossover, all right? You've crossed over Gulf Road, now you're over on your Higgins. That's Parcel B, okay? So that's the golf course is over there. And that golf course doesn't belong to us at Schaumburg. So now you're going to cross over Roselle Road. You're going to cross over Roselle Road now. You're going to head west. That's Parcel C. That's Parcel C. Bodie Road goes through there. So, and then the Pie. Who knows where the Pie is? Oh yeah, should we give out all of our, why don't we give those three people a piece of candy? Who? Raise your hand, those that knew the Pie. Take a. You're driving. Yeah, he's gonna eat that. Your neighbor can eat it. Oh, look at this.
To make sure I've got my understanding right, the Pie is west of the intersection of of Gulf and Higgins, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the Pie. Yep, the Pie is the area between Higgins and Gulf, and it is west of Gannon. Yes, and that's where the Meyer farm used to be there. This is the tear down in 2017 of the south end of Hoffman Plaza. Now, Hoffman Plaza was the first business and retail area that F&S built. They built all the homes, but then they promised that they would build stores and give us doctor's offices and things like that. So this is the Hoffman Plaza that they built. Jewel was built in 1959. It opened in the summer, but the store faced Higgins. Now Jewel faces Roselle, because they moved and built that newer area. It was built in 1958 and housed the first Jewel grocery store. The Jewel store opened in the summer of 1959. Burlington Clothing is there now. And so that was our very first grocery store. Hallelujah. You had to go to Palatine, or mostly we went to Roselle to get groceries. And that was when you couldn't buy meat after 6 o'clock. Here are, oh, aren't they cute? Here are the children in 1961 posing for their class picture at Sam Hoffman Elementary School, located at 665 Grand Canyon, next to St. Hubert's School. The school closed in 1983 and became the school of the Alliance Fellowship Church. And so, are you in there, Fred?
No, we were, grade 2.
Fred here was born out here.
No,
Oh no, how old were you when you
3.
he was 3 years old?
Jim Holland.
And I thought,
We got a picture of,
where are all of those children now?
Pat, we have a,
How old
Sure.
would they all be? Oh my goodness.
Pat,
Look it, they're just so cute.
Pat, we have a picture, Jim Hollick has sent to us, some members here of class of 71 from Conan High School, almost identical picture of this from second
Speak
grade.
louder. Can't hear? Hold it up closer.
Oh, close. Class of 71, Jim Hollick has given
Now it's
us
too loud.
pictures of when we were in second grade at Sam Hoffman. It looks identical to this.
Okay, yeah. Yes. And, you know, it's really so nice to look back on these pictures, you know, when you get to be in your 80s and you say, oh, look, that was my first grade class. All right. And there's Jack Hoffman. This is the man whose construction company built Hoffman Estates. It's an early picture of Jack Hoffman, who constructed Hoffman Estates. It became Hoffman Rossner later on, and then Hoffman Homes. He and his father, Sam, F&S, stood for father and son, built Hoffman Plaza, Gulf Center, the bowling alley, and the Medcoa building, along with the residential homes of Hoffman Estates in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. So the Medcoa buildings are still there. They built that so we'd have doctor's offices and you know, professionals to move in there. Very nice man. His father was Russian, and he escaped Russia and came to the United States illegally. I don't know if that ever got settled, but he came through Canada to the United States. And the F&S Construction Company built homes all over the United States, absolutely everywhere. And I was surprised that they were, you know, building that much. Oh, and you know who that is? This is Mayor Virginia Hayter on the left and village developer Jack Hoffman. They chat at his 2008 tribute at Lakeview School. His original staff that worked with him to develop Hoffman Estates was also present. Oh, I love this picture. Oh, wait, there is one that, well, I might have it mixed up. Yeah, this is Mayor Mike O'Malley and Mayor George Chavannes of Angoulême, France, signing the Sister Cities Friendship Pact in 1996. This friendship has continued over all the years since its signing. Yearly visits and activities are enjoyed by the residents of Hoffman Estates. Yes, I missed the picture of Betty Gloyd. I had a picture of her, but it didn't pop up. But Betty Gloyd was our mayor from 1985 to 1989. This is one of the machines that you would have seen when you first moved to Hoffman Estates. It was one of the machines, a steam engine that the farmers used. It was, you could change the belts and it would do everything. It could harvest, it could cut wood, it could do whatever you wanted. So it's a Fairbanks Morris steam tractor. It was the heart of the Meyer family farm and other farms on what would become the Village of Hoffman Estates. The farm was located on the south side of Higgins Road, west of Gannon. And that's where their farm was, and you'll see there is a street in there, Meyer, named for them. Oh, and our police. Here's an early group of police officers posing for their picture in 1960. The police department grew in size as the years went by. Now in 2024, the police force has 88 full-time officers. And again, we wouldn't be able to take a picture. They'd have to go on in the gym in the high school and be up on risers. Look at those squad cars. Oh, boy. And of course, they're parked by the Village Hall. You see that in the background. The Village Hall had the police department, the water department, everything was there. The maintenance, the guys that plowed the streets, all of their trucks were there. And here is one of the squad cars. 1960, there was only one squad car in service for the young growing community. The police department had their offices and jail in the Hammerstein farmhouse on Illinois and Evanston that became the first Village Hall. In 2024, there are 40 squad cars. Oh, and what is that? You all recognize, what is that?
Poplar Creek.
Poplar Creek, take a turtle, have a turtle.
I can't, I'm holding them.
Oh, you can take one later. This is Poplar Creek Music Theater. It was a very popular outdoor music venue located west of Route 59 and north of the Northwest Tollway. Hoffman Estates residents miss this wonderful outdoor amphitheater. World-class entertainers performed there from 1980 until it closed in 1994. Mayor, could we have another one? Oh, wouldn't that be wonderful? That was, everyone remembers that, and the people that performed, they were top drawer. They were the top performers of their day. Yeah, it was great. And here you can see everybody enjoying the lawn area. In 1980, it was always filled. And this was what was so nice. You could afford to get a ticket because you could just, bring a blanket and lay on the lawn. It was used by the high schools for graduation ceremonies, by Hoffman Estates High School, and also other local high schools. Ah, look at that. Rodney, did you take this picture?
No, but I lost the ones I did take.
Yeah. Rodney had told me he flew over Sears in a helicopter and he was able to take a lot of pictures, but he can't find them. So he's gonna clean out the closets. So Sears Roebuck and Company moved its headquarters to Hoffman Estates and began construction in 1991. The campus was located west of Route 59, situated on the south side of Higgins Road. And now that is going to be gone. They have started to tear it down, and we will have a new data center that will be there. And a new power supply is also being built to supply the power that they will need. Yes, it was beautiful in there, just beautiful. And here is the oldest house in Hoffman Estates. Not Hammerstein Farm, the Children's Advocacy comes in second. I'm not sure if it's still there. I have been tempted to drive down the road off of Barrington, but I'm not certain that I can go there. The hospital owns all the property. I don't know what they have torn down, but this was the Steinmeier farm. And the farm property slowly disappeared as it was purchased for development. This is one of the oldest buildings in Hoffman Estates. The old house was built circa 1840 for the Steinmeier family. The Alexian Hospital now owns this property at Old Higgins Road, east of Barrington Road. And this is where the Steinmeier children, they were all raised in that house. And the one side of the building you can't see, but you can see all the lath and plaster between all the slits. And it shows how that was built so long ago. I have a feeling it's not there anymore, but I would love to try to go back on that property and see. Oh, there, I did have to take a picture of it. That's the side of it, and you see how they built that. And they put that plaster between all of those single boards. Hoffman Estate's first bank. This was the most unusual bank. Who remembers the drive-up windows? Oh, see, we got the same old timers here. Yes, and the drive-up windows aren't there anymore. You know, when BMO took it over, it used to be Suburban Bank of Hoffman Estates, and it had a big maple leaf. And the Fitzgerald family owned the bank, and they owned the bank in Palatine. And I worked for Mr. Fitzgerald, and I did a little bit of research to find out about this building. I was told that it had won an architectural award. Never been able to find it, cannot find it. I talked to the architect's wife, and she was not aware that they had any kind of an award for this bank. So it was the first bank. It was originally Suburban Bank of Hoffman Estates. It was bought by Harris Bank and is now known as BMO Bank. The design is very unusual. It is built of preformed striated concrete walls. Originally, it had drive-up windows on 4 sides of the bank. This bank opened in 1970. It's on Roselle Road in Gulf Center. And you know, I just watched a program about, the renowned architect that was born and lived in Oak Park. Okay. Yes, there was a program on Channel 11 for Frank Lloyd Wright. And I've learned about how he loved concrete. He built most of his buildings using a lot of concrete. That's what he really liked. So I think about our bank and how this architect must have been thinking about Frank Lloyd Wright and how he used concrete. There aren't too many other buildings like this, so it is quite unusual. I only have a few more left. And this is the Sunderland Smokehouse. It's the only piece of property in the village that is on the National Register of Historic Places. It probably goes back to 1845. We think it predates the house. The farmhouse, Sunderland Farmhouse, was built in 1856. But this smokehouse was used by all the early pioneers who moved here, and they used it to preserve their food. It was vital for them. And the area that we are not too far from, I guess we could still call ourselves Wildcat Grove. Wildcat Grove is just down the street. The shooting range that Marshall Fields had was where Wildcat Grove was. And the house, Sunderland, is across Higgins. This is the Vogelei farmhouse, It was also a Sunderledge house. It was sold to the Christensen family in 1940. 1952, it was sold to Ida Vogelei. And she bought it for investment purposes. She never really lived there. The house dates to 1916, and a 1937 barn replaced the original that burned. The Hoffman Estates Vogelei Park is at Higgins and Gulf. And so that's another one of the great farmhouses that we have saved, that the village sees fit to save. And this is owned by the Park District, this building. And, all right, who remembers this? The same people, okay. Were you members?
Yes.
Okay, some members.
Our dad was the one.
Do you remember this? Mayor, do you remember? Were you ever a member?
No.
No.
Weaver was.
So this is the Tropicana Swim Club. It was a privately funded swimming pool for the local families in the village. It was August 1960 when it opened, located on Audubon Street at the east end of Parcel B. $125 was the yearly fee for a family membership. Over the next 42 years, maintenance costs on the deteriorating pool caused it to close in 2002, 2003.
Yeah, our
So-
father was one of the.
I have a lot of the papers that were given to our museum about the pool, and I got quite a few of the nice pictures. And there you see them in the pool. The mothers were so glad because the kids would go there after school, and they never had to worry about what they were doing. And here is that map. Yeah. That is the map of Hoffman Estates. That's us. That's our baby picture. That is our baby picture. You see that square? You know, it's always easy to find us. It's where the roads cross. Higgins. Yes, would you?
This area up here.
That's it.
Parcel A.
That's parcel A and parcel B.
Was here, and
Parcel B is across the street, across Higgins.
And over here, roughly, is where Conan High School is.
Yeah, and then the golf course, and that belongs to Schaumburg. You know, so that's us. Oh my gosh, growing to greatness. Haven't we done it every single year? Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh, and here is another one of my favorite pictures. This picture was taken, I got the wrong paper here, the wrong page. This was taken in 1965. This was our population. And you can see there's the bowling alley, that's gone. Moving to a new home in Hoffman Estates was exciting for this little girl. She posed for a picture at the highway population sign of the new village of Hoffman Estates, west of the intersection of Roselle Road. It was taken in 1965. All right. And here's the Lion Bridge. I had to put this in. It is in Hoffman Estates. And the bridge was built in 1906 that crosses Poplar Creek at Gulf and Route 59. It has historic significance as it was one of the first concrete arch bridges being built at that time. It was built by Harry Emerson, who also built many of the early bridges across the Des Plaines River. It is the only remaining bridge of his to survive. And before I die, I still have work to do to try to have something done between the Village of Hoffman Estates, the Forest Preserve, and Hanover Township. Yes, Mayor?
Actually, we're talking right now with the Forest Preserve in Hanover Township about repairing the bridge and bringing it up to
Yeah, it's in
standards.
Hoffman Estates.
Yeah, it's in Hoffman Estates.
Yeah,
so
it is.
We're
And-
working out a cost-sharing agreement. Hopefully it'll work out between the Forest Preserve
It would be
Hoffman
nice.
Estates in Hanover Township, so.
Do
It's,
you remember when you had us all sing happy birthday to
Yes,
that?
I
Yeah,
do.
happy birthday to the bridge. It's
I
Cedric's
know,
birthday.
we had, the donut holes, I think, or cupcakes.
Right.
And we had hot chocolate, we tailgated.
Yeah, I've done some weird things as mayor, but that was one of the weirdest.
Yeah,
Happy birthday to a bridge.
I mean, that's what
Time we sang happy
we need to go out there and have another birthday party. We really do. Ray, how many years? What is it, the 100, it was 1906, so next year, no, in 26, it'll be 120 years old.
It'll be fixed by
Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna be around for the 70th anniversary for our incorporation. We'll see, I hope. So I did find out when I had the program about the bridge. This bridge belongs to the Forest Preserve. This bridge does not belong to Hoffman Estates. It does not belong to Hanover Park or Hanover Township. It belongs to the Village of the Cook County Forest Preserve. It belongs to Cook County Forest Preserve. And so those are the guys that I'm gonna jump on. And, you know, they got some grant money last year, and I don't know if they spent it all, but I'm gonna try to find out if they can do something to put some overlayment on the bridge, because there's some of the rebar that's coming through, and it needs a little bit of work. It really does. So, but that is the end, I believe. Oh, no, there's the dedication. I have the dedication in here. There's Mayor McLeod, and that is the township supervisor. What's his name, Mayor?
Ryan McGuire.
Yeah, yes, Mr. McGuire. I couldn't remember his name. And this was when Hanover Township put a historical marker there. And there's our mayor applauding. It was a rainy day that day, but that was nice that that marker went up. Hanover Township has other markers like this. And that may be the end. Yes, that's the end. That's the end of what I have, you know, and we've got, you know, I think we're gonna put these on the table. I want everybody to take, while we're taking our cupcakes and coffee and that, I wanted several people, Rodney, to talk and give a little bit about when he was working with the village. He was a trustee at one time, and then you also did volunteer work. This is Rodney Rosiskevich. Rodney, when did you move to Hoffman Estates? You got your mic? The handheld.
I moved here in 1973.
Ray, do you have the mic?
Got a mic.
Oh, is that one working? And,
Oh, well, yeah, Pat, we were talking prior to she putting her performance together here. She said, you know, maybe it would be interesting if we could just get somebody that lived in the village and was involved in the village at the same time. Well, I did move out here in 1973 with my wife Judy. We raised a family. I moved out of city of Chicago, of course. I was involved in politics in the city, but I decided when I came out here I was through with politics. That never worked. But we did come out here, and I had, for some reason or other, there was a little article in the paper one time, and it said, we are looking for someone to volunteer to be on, I believe it was the 4th of July
oh, the 4th of
Commission.
July, yeah.
And this was back in early 80s. So I met with the Virginia Hader, who you heard the letter from, and some of the trustees. And while I was interviewing to possibly go on the 4th of July, the mayor, Virginia, looked at me and she said, you know, I got something else for you. Ironically enough, that was going to be our 25th anniversary of the village. And she said, we need to form a new committee and we need members for that. Would you be interested in being on the 25th anniversary? So 40 years ago, that's where I got started.
Yes.
And
Wow.
I served on that commission for a year. We had a various amount of activities. We had a wine named after the village and things like that.
Yeah, cool.
After I got through with that committee, I was asked what else would I like to do. I said, I don't know, the mayor appointed me to the Plan Commission. So I served on the Plan Commission. Had no idea what a Plan Commission was at the time, but I served on it. I served with Bill, our current mayor, for many years. In fact, probably all the time that I was involved in the village, I was involved with Bill in some way, shape, or form. So from there, I became,
You could tell lots of stories.
oh, I could, yeah, but you don't want to, yeah, you don't want to hear all of them. I served under Betty Gloyd. She ran against Virginia Hay. Virginia was my mentor, really. Once she appointed me to that 4th of July, or tried to, and then put me on the 25th anniversary and then a Plan Commission. She was my mentor. And so we worked together very closely. Then Virginia, of course, lost an election to Betty Gloyd.
Right.
Betty Gloyd became the mayor. Betty Gloyd and I did not like each other very well. You might almost say it was a lot of hatred between us.
Oh, gosh.
And the first thing she did was kick me off the Plan Commission.
Oh,
And she made a statement one time, as long as I'm mayor, he is never going to serve on any capacity in this village. And so that was my reputation.
yeah,
But of course, she lost to
yeah.
Mayor O'Malley. And the mayor called me back in and he said, you know, is there something you'd like to do in the village? I said, yeah, I'd like to go on back on the Plan Commission. So I got appointed back to the Plan Commission. I served on the Plan Commission for 15 years. I left the Plan Commission being its chairman. Trustee Stanton, who is in the audience here, followed me and we served together on the Plan Commission. He became the chairman. The mayor and the board at the time had an opening on the village board. Someone was leaving, they were moving out of the village. I applied for the position. The mayor and the board appointed me in 2000 to serve on the village board. I served for 7 years until 2007. It's been a very exciting time in the village. I mean, really, when I think about it, you know, going back to the 25th anniversary commission, and here I am today at the 65th anniversary. That's a 40-year span of my life, and I'm still breathing and living.
Yeah.
And so many things have happened. We ended up with a hospital. We ended up with a banquet center. We ended up with Sears. Sears opened up the whole West. I used to refer to our West as our Western frontier, because once Sears came out, developers just followed, and I was still on the Plan Commission at the time. I can't tell you how busy we were, and Bill can attest to that. I mean, things were just really, and Karen. I've got Karen Mills there. I served with Karen. Plan Commission, I served with Karen on the board. So it's been an exciting time, and I know you don't want to hear anymore. You've listened to enough today, but it's been a trip. It really has, and it's an experience. And when I sat back and thought about, you know, Pat saying, you want to say something about when you're, I said, wow, you know, did I really do all that? At the same time, I was involved with the Park District. I was coaching soccer. I was coaching youth basketball. I helped them run the youth soccer program. I don't know if those who remember, the youth soccer program used to be held at what was Union Oil property on the corner of Meacham and Gulf, where, what is it, Woodfield Green Shopping Center is now. We used to have our soccer program out there. We lost that because Union Oil moved. We moved to the Forest Preserve. So many exciting things happened. And it's just been a great time. It really has. I have no regrets for ever coming to Hoffman Estates.
Thank you.
Never.
Thank you. And you know, one of the things that I'll stand for, I'll stand for a few minutes. One of the things that Rodney and I had talked about, you know, was before, you know, when I was starting to get ready for this program, and I said, I want to do on the cake, and as it turned out, we got cupcakes instead. But I was going to put growing to greatness for 65 years. And Rodney, you told me all the years that you worked here in the village that you use that slogan, growing to greatness, a lot.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so it just describes our village perfectly. It really, really does. And it'll serve our village for the next 65 years. I just have a couple numbers that I want to point out to you. Karen Mills is the senior member, 32 years now. Karen served us 32 years. And, you know, as Rodney said, all of our trustees here, Gary's here, who else?
Anna were here.
They left.
Yeah, the trustees that we elect and our mayor and all of the people that run our village here and take care of us. And, you know, our election is coming up in November. And I did write in my column once that the most important people that you need to know about and vote for are our trustees and our mayor. They're the ones who are the closest to you as far as your taxes and the things that are built here. All of the businesses that come here have to be approved by our trustees. So, you know, they look at that and, you know, it's really, like I said, close to being a perfect village. I hope you'll enjoy those pictures in the back. They're really cool. They are so large because Sears, when they first came out here, were kind enough to do that work for our museum. And so I just love them. I have a picture of the intersection that looks the other way, and I don't know what happened to it. Somebody may have borrowed it for whatever, but they're really fun to look at. And I wanted to also show you this book. This is a book, and I'm going to read a little poem out of it, because, yes, Tom is gone. He wrote the poem, and he said, "Don't read that poem." So I'm going to read it, of course. He said, "Don't do it," so I'm going to do it. But it's just a very cool book, and it's a book of poetry and poems. It was put together by all of the children in District 54, not just one school, but all the schools. And it gives the teacher's name, and it gives the, I found it. It gives the teacher's name, the teacher, the school, the student's name, and the grade that they were in. Okay, so not Tom, this is Michael. Michael Terranella. He was in first grade when he wrote this. He was, his teacher was Mrs. Allen, and this is his poem. "The mud puddle was dirty, and I stepped right in it. My shoe got dirty and wet. I tripped over a rock and fell. My pants were all muddy. I had to go home and change my clothes. Then I went back out to play." And I thought, what a perfect description of a little kid getting dirty. So this is really a great book. I'm going to put this in with our historic stuff, all of the things that we have. And it does cover all of the schools in District 54. And so it's fun to read. I wish I could put it out and have you, check it out like a book at a library. But, I can't do that. I might pick a poem every now and then, and I could include it in my historian notebook column. That would help me. I wouldn't have to write as much. I could.
What year is that from?
Yeah, pardon?
What year?
It's from 1964. And Mr. Flum was the superintendent, Robert A. Flum. And this was given to me by Michael. I went to visit him, and he gave me a few things from way back when. All right, I had some other questions, and then I am done. What was the first high school, and I'm not going to give out any more candy. What was the first high school in Hoffman Estates?
Conant.
Yes, it was Conant. Okay. Who built the village? F&S, yes. And I thought, well, it's so obvious that you all got to look at what? Who was our first mayor? I should probably not even mention him. Pinger. Gee whiz. Yes. Our first mayor was Ed Pinger, Pinger. Yes. Who is the longest-serving village elected official? That's right. Right there, he sits. Mayor has served ever since Mayor Hayter appointed him. And the gentleman who left, I don't know why he left. Was he ill or?
No, he was moving, Hank Bowman.
Oh, he moved away. Okay. And so Mayor assigned him to be a trustee, and here he is ever since. Here he is ever since. 44 years going on 45 years. And it's really fun to do this every year. I hope I could do it next year. I don't know. So the cupcakes are there. I hope you've helped yourself. Oh, Fred, I need to have Fred talk about, he moved out here when he was 3. So Fred, you have the microphone and then, but I'm done with my part.
1957, September 17th is my parents. My brother Michael's right here. We moved in the house of $17,000 over on Des Plaines Lane, which was 1 block south, 1 street south of the Village Hall. And he got it through a VA loan because he was in World War II for 4.25%. He also became involved with the Hoffman Estates Homeowners Association. And what the association had done, they had elected people throughout the unincorporated area of Hoffman Estates to represent people. Our dad represented the area on Des Plaines Lane. And then when it became, do we incorporate or not incorporated, it became the Hatfield and McCoys. People did not want to incorporate, some people did. And after my dad had died, I went through a whole bunch of papers, and somewhere he did not want to incorporate because there were a group of people who wanted to do a gerrymandering of who could vote and not vote in Hoffman Estates Homeowners Association. And he said and wrote, everybody who is a member of the Hoffman Estates Homeowners Association votes, not just certain people. And also at that time, my dad went with another gentleman to Village of Schaumburg Center, as it was called then. Schaumburg Center had around 350, 400 people and wanted to know if certain parts of Hoffman Estates Homeowners Association, if Schaumburg would want to incorporate. And there had been 2,500 or 3,000 people. And I remember years later, one of the first times I went legally drinking with my dad at the Schaumrose Bar over at Schaumburg Road and Roselle Road, and asked him why, and he says, well, think about it, son. If they incorporated 2,500 to 3,000 people, who would have been elected the next election? It wouldn't be the people from Schaumburg. And then years later, Mayor Jenkins appointed my dad as a commission to go talk to the Village of Schaumburg about incorporating, where the 2 towns merging rather, Hoffman and Schaumburg. But Schaumburg said no. And my dad was very involved. He was also a member of the, he got elected in 1961 as the Schaumburg Township Auditor. And the people that were in 1961 who became the Schaumburg Township Auditor, they also had 2 people who became elected who were Justice of the Peace. And there are 2 gentlemen who were constables, besides being a supervisor of the township and clerk and assessor and road commissioner, stuff like that. And then when the group ran 4 years later, I remember Michael and I, my dad would drop us off at a corner. We start dropping off pamphlets at the doors of houses, and he'd pick us up at the end of the street. But he lost, and I found out by 7 votes. But years later, he said, I remember, he's glad it happened. Because one of the first things my dad had ever done, my dad was always one of these guys who could walk into a bar, come out 2 hours later, and know everybody. He knew all the, like showing the original police chief lived kitty corner across from us, John O'Connor. And when we'd walk to St. Hubert School, we'd pass the police station, and the squad cars were numbered 50 to 56, except they did not have a car number 54. Anybody remember why, maybe? A TV series car 54, yes. And the way that the town had developed, originally the original mayors wanted a bedroom community, and Mayor Hayter is one of the first ones to start saying we need to get businesses into this town for a tax base. And she's the one who started it off, and all the other trustees and mayors since then, including Mayor McLeod, what they have done to help with the tax base, especially all the car dealerships that are in town now, where the original car dealerships were in Schaumburg because Hoffman Estate says we don't want that. But it was very interesting growing up as a kid in this lovely town, because you go out, be home by dark. Parents didn't care where you went, basically. And if you weren't home by dark, you'd get in trouble, right?
No dessert.
So I thank everybody in Hoffman Estates, Sam Hoffman who started it, and then all the, especially the trustees and mayors that have continued this town to make it what it is. That's all.
I didn't introduce Fred Luft. It's Fred Luft, and thank you, Fred. He's, I thought he was born here, but I guess not. He was 3 years old. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you.